What's up, everybody? This is episode 14 of The PlayStation Effect, a weekly podcast that discusses the past, present, and future of PlayStation. I'm your host, Marco. Joining me is my good friend and co-host, Pablo, and in this episode, it is all about the state of play. From Marvel's Wolverine to another God of War, we're here to give our honest reactions about the highs, the lows, the haves, and the have-nots of PlayStation's most pivotal showcase yet. So get settled, get situated, subscribe if you're down, and let's talk Sony State of Play, man. Pablo, look, reactions are still pouring in. That's safe to say, but it's clear that I think expectations were quite high for this showcase, and that some people, as per usual, walked away more satisfied than others. Now, as for us, we'll save our final grades for the end of the show, but for now, I would like to at least begin with getting your top-level thoughts about the show, starting with you, of course. So walk me through kind of where you're at mentally after watching this showcase.
I am left thoroughly confused. I feel like PlayStation told everybody, we got you guys, and then they show us, nah, they really don't got us. The one thing I will say that maybe we should have seen coming is that they didn't call it a showcase. But man, I feel like this is more on them than on us. I feel like they wanted these 2 weeks of hype of people to talk about it, to forget about everything they did just those 2 weeks ago, and have everybody just kind of praising it, glazing it, and having prediction shows. And then they delivered what they were always going to deliver, which is a decent show, but you know, we'll get into that in a little bit.
Yeah, and that's a sentiment that I'm starting to see bubble up a little bit right now, is that I think a lot of people are a little bit confused like you, in that a lot of high expectations for this showcase, and while there was certainly some very interesting announcements that we'll unpack, I do think that for the most part, it felt like just your typical state of play. It is kind of hard to figure out if it's a case of people expecting too much or PlayStation delivering too little. And I guess in cases like that, it usually ends up being somewhere in the middle, probably. I don't think it's the worst thing that I've ever seen in terms of showcases, and I don't think you're saying that either. I think just to kind of...
No.
Just to kind of frame this, I think where we're at is, just with the stakes and just with the status of PlayStation, this maybe should have been a lot more than what we've got. And that's why we wanted to talk about the haves and have-nots, particularly with the first party. And speaking of which, we are going to start there first with talking through PlayStation's first party showings. Then we'll get through what they didn't show from their first party and kind of where we land on that. And then we'll shift gears and talk about some of the key third party showings. And then we'll round things out with our top 3 games of the show and our final grades, of course. But let us begin with the first party side of things. And Pablo, I think we have to kind of start where the showcase ended. Just in terms of the buzz that's surrounding the showcase, which is, of course, God of War Laufey. I think I'm saying that correctly. I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I think you are.
Yeah, 20-minute reveal, Sony Santa Monica. So the rumors are true. Does star Faye after she dies in God of War, which is a little bit different than what I was expecting. I didn't realize
that. I thought it was a prequel.
Yeah, I thought it was a prequel too. So very interesting start to the game premise-wise. And as we saw more of the gameplay and just kind of the story setup, definitely some very interesting takes on where they're going next. With how they're handling mythology and the location of the game. But also, in particular, a lot of rumors were swirling about the gameplay itself being more of a Bayonetta-like experience. Probably not quite what we got here, I would say. It had a little bit of that flair, in a sense, but as soon as it went to the over-the-shoulder perspective in the beginning, I'm like, oh, no, okay. We didn't stray too far from the formula, did we?
Yeah, it feels like a God of War game. And my expectation is I wanted this to be a God of War game in name only. And what we got is a God of War in gameplay, storytelling, and name. Because it looks like it's one shot as well. I think that's Cory Barlog's new thing where it's going to be all done in one shot. Because the way that they were presented it is like, uninterrupted 20-minute gameplay. So it all looks like that. I don't want to start the show off so negative because, this is a PlayStation podcast. We love PlayStation. But I've talked about the God of War fatigue, and I feel like seeing this game and seeing how similar it looks to what we've already had, I can't help to feel a little bit disappointed, but it also looked awesome at the same time. It also has some that quality that we get from Santa Monica. Narratively, it's doing things a little different in terms of the story it's telling. And that way, I'm really excited about it. But I just was expecting something else. And what we got was something a little more traditional.
Yeah, for me, I think we are very far removed from the tone of the original series. And that, for me, as someone who liked the original games the most, really stands out more and more with each new project. This, and I don't mean to say this in a super slanderous way, but it felt very MCU coded in certain respects. I think especially when the talking ribbon and cube popped up and it got very quippy and a little quirky, and there's already people that are like, well, there's a reason why it's a real thing, and I get that, but that really stuck out to me in a way that made the game seem a little at odds with itself. Because it felt like it wanted to be taken super, super seriously. And then here comes Rue and Frank. And it's like, all right, I don't really know what you want me to feel at this point, but okay, we're kind of doing something different here. And I like that in a way because it makes me curious, but it also makes me kind of go, it's not feeling like God of War for me right now.
The thing is, it's funny because they had Laufey getting punched in the face, like really some visceral action. So it's like, okay, they're not completely removing themselves from the grittiness of God of War. And then 5 seconds later, like you said, you saw Rue and Frank, and you're like,
Yeah, I don't know, man.
That whiplash is going to be a problem. How scared were you when you saw that kid in the cage? When I was like, oh no, we have to take care of this kid.
Yeah, dude, for a split second, I'm like, all right, okay, let's not do that again. I immediately wrote the rest of the story in my head, and I'm like, oh, she's going to take that kid under her wing, and that's going to be her son away from her son, and it's like, oh boy. I will say this in closing, though. I think that if you're a God of War fan, you're going to be over the moon about this. But we are very much seeing a tried and true formula of the new God of War. And I do find that to be a little bit of a shoulder shrug for me. It's like, oh, okay, well, all right. I think I was just wanting something a little bit more creative, and that didn't come through for me. We digress for now. Let's move on, Pablo, to the next game that was at the start of the State of Play, which was, of course, Marvel's Wolverine. Finally got an extended gameplay walkthrough. Insomniac used the term focused experience, which I think could indicate linear in some capacity. So maybe not the open world, sprawling cityscape kind of experience that Spider-Man was, but maybe semi-open. We don't know yet. Coming 9/15, as we already knew, but pre-orders are live right now, Pablo. But look, we saw the gameplay. This is what we wanted. This is what we've been waiting for. And you kind of were one of the more skeptical. After seeing what you saw, what stuck out to you, and where do you stand?
Yeah, I'm exactly the same place where I started, because looking at this, everything looks really cool. You know, all the blood effects and the way that Wolverine, he gets absolutely soaked in that blood.
Yeah.
And everything is there that I expected to be there. My question is the in-between, the moment-to-moment gameplay, because how are they going to make this game interesting outside of just going into an area full of bad guys and hacking and slashing away? I know that Jean Grey is there. There's some really cool moments where you guys, synergize and do some combos together. That's all cool. The first time I saw it, great. How about the 5th or 6th time that happens, right? Mm-hmm. What exactly is this game outside of this? If it's focused, if it's linear, that's fine. So now they're going to have to find a way for me to make it more interesting. 10 hours of just hack and slash, the same things over and over and over. It's just going to feel like I've done this before. I'm doing this again. Things that you didn't really see with Spider-Man because there were so many other things that you can do. So the onus is on them to make this game interesting outside of those action pieces, because they said we have many action pieces, which is fine. It's an experience for sure, curated at 13, 14 hours, whatever the case may be. I just don't know how to feel about this game outside of what I saw here today, which is really cool. But when I have sticks in hand, what exactly am I getting?
Yeah, and maybe that's what they were trying to maybe avoid a little bit by just describing it as a focused experience and not showing you exactly what it's focusing on. Because maybe it is just like, hey, here's one level, or here's one mission, and then here's the next mission, and you're just kind of being plucked from one place to the other. There's nothing in between happening. So it might be a very straightforward by the book experience in that sense. So there might be differences in the overall flow of the game with, like, compared to Spider-Man, where you can kind of go run off, do things in the city and do Spider-Man stuff if you don't feel like doing any main stuff right away. This might be cutting that out completely, and to your point, just kind of going from one combat encounter to the next with some story sprinkled in between. And if that is the case, that makes for a very tight experience, and I do tend to like those, but it also could create a little bit of fatigue, like you're saying, especially if they don't have a lot of tricks up their sleeve outside of what they've shown here. Maybe there is more. Maybe there's more features, more functionality, more different types of like missions. There was some stuff that did get leaked when all their information kind of got like data mined and stuff. Maybe that can kind of break up the fighting nonstop thing.
And that would be great, because if it's kind of linear and it's so straightforward that way, there's going to be a problem where it's going to be take 10 steps forward, fight 5 bad guys, and then there's a little cutscene that happens that transitions to the next action set piece. And then we see that over and over and over. People are going to get fatigued on the experience. But again, this is Insomniac. They're incredible at what they do. We have to kind of give them the benefit of the doubt. And I am giving them that, but I am still kind of in the same spot, man.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I loved what I saw. To be honest with you, I was not as let down or disappointed as I've seen people say online about what they saw. And I'm not even a big Marvel fan. I really just liked the fact that I wasn't going to have to worry about like another open world fatigue situation with another Marvel superhero. I'm all about just keeping things simple and straightforward. And if that's what this game wants to be, then I'm totally cool with it. So I liked what I saw. It looked great. I think visually it looks really awesome. The gameplay looked very visceral in the ways that I want, and I think tonally it's doing a lot of what I wanted to see it do too, in that it's taking itself a little bit more seriously than Spider-Man is tonally. So yeah, I don't have a ton of complaints about it personally. I just, to your point, I want to see what else they have up their sleeve to kind of keep things interesting as you play.
I agree.
But speaking of Marvel, we'll probably get through this one pretty quickly, but they did show Marvel took on Fighting Souls again after they showed Wolverine. So new trailer coming out August 6th. Not particularly interested in this game on a personal level. I don't think you are either.
It looks cool. I mean, it looks really cool. But that's all. Yeah. I really can't say much because I'm not really a fan of the fighting games to begin with, and this one just looks cool. I can't deny that.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of fun. I think people who are into this type of, first of all, art style will be very satisfied. I think it looks great.
Yeah.
Stylistically, and if you're a fighting game fan, there's probably a lot to unpack that an eye like mine is not going to see in a trailer. So I'm expecting Maximilian and company to be like breaking down every single frame of this. But we will move on to the next game that we saw from Sony's first party, which is Until Dawn 2. Reveal trailer. It is being developed by Firesprite after all, and it is coming sometime next year. Pablo, I want to get your thoughts on this one. What do you think about this?
I really haven't played Until Dawn like that, so I can't say that I'm a huge fan, but I like these kinds of games. I love the query. I love those kind of story-driven games, and this looked awesome, dude. Setting it up where it's in a tropical island and it looks really cool, but then there's like this mysterious like thing happening where it's that dichotomy between paradise and evil happening that's killing people. You have to make these choices. I really was into that, so I really thought that this looked really cool. I was really interested in this.
I didn't like it.
What about it? Did you like it?
Oh, man. There were a lot of issues that I had with it. I think visually it looked a little underwhelming. I wasn't liking the characters, and you know, it's a teenage slasher flick, and the teenagers are like modern day teenagers. You know, all of them have very punchable faces. And so it's like, I'm going to have a hard time giving a fuck who lives and who dies in this game, because I think the first game did really good with like introducing a cast that each had their own charming nature about them. So you can kind of see past their exterior and get to know them a little bit deeper. I don't know if this game is going to have as much going in that regard for it, and I just didn't like the tropical environment. I think that felt very unlike what I would wanted to see out of a sequel. I wanted something that was a little bit more close to the original game. Just kind of building on it a little bit more. This just feels like Until Dawn in name, but not necessarily in the overall story and direction. Yeah. Nothing about this distinctly felt like Until Dawn and or PlayStation. But other people do like it a little bit. So hopefully it does well, comes out next year, and I'll circle back to it once more information comes out, and maybe I might change my opinion on it. But for now, let's move on to the final first-party game that we saw, which was Marathon Season 2 Nightfall gets a trailer. It's, of course, out as of this recording, and it is getting a free-to-play week. So I was part right on that prediction. It isn't coming to PS Plus like it should have, but it is getting a price cut, so that's good, and hopefully that should help a little bit in moving the needle. But I just think I was watching the stream, and boy, there was a lot of Destiny 3 hashtagging going on in that chat, man. So I feel like Marathon ain't exactly it for what people want out of Bungie right now.
I thought what they were showing, because I don't know anything about Marathon like that, what they were showing is their version of Iron Banner. It was just like, PvP. I thought they were showing their version of that, like a Halo type experience, and they weren't. No. They were showing something else. Yeah,
that's very problematic, and I'm actually glad you brought that up, because I think that's part of the reason why Marathon's not resonating because they splice together trailers that look like a great single player game, good single player game. You're like, oh man, I can't wait to explore. But they kind of snipped out all of the shit that makes it an extraction shooter, so you don't really get that feel. And I think that's the problem. Is the trailers are not really indicative of what the actual gameplay is, and I think
they're not confident in their own shit. It feels like
either that or they know that. Yeah, I mean, just based on like player counts right now, that resting on the laurels of being an extraction shooter is not enough. So I think they're trying to do more things to try to compensate for that with trailers like that, but it's not enough. So I think if they really are kind of 10 toes down with this game, then they're going to have to really consider doing a little bit more story content and more stuff that goes outside of the extraction shooter niche if they want this to survive, I think, because it's a really interesting world. It really is. There's good lore here, and they do tell that story very uniquely, but I don't know what they're going to do to climb out of this hole. And I love this game. I really do.
Know, man.
I loved it. I've dumped over 100 hours into Marathon, so I'm not one of those outside looking in assholes who are like, this game sucks, but I didn't play it. It's just there's something missing. Let's hope they can right the ship and get this into a good place before time runs out on that studio, one way or the other. Now, that is what they showed from the first party standpoint, but let's talk about what they didn't show, Pablo, because I think that was also pretty telling. They didn't show Intergalactic or anything Naughty Dog, for that matter. Nothing from Media Molecule, no Fair Games / Break-In or whatever the hell they're calling it, and no Horizon Hunters Gathering. So I look at that list of have-nots and I say, okay, Intergalactic kind of stung. I would have liked for that to be here, but I will say I am glad they didn't put Fair Games or Horizon Hunters Gathering in this thing.
Yeah, I didn't think there was a chance that was going to show up. But Intergalactic was interesting. And just to kind of say, also my predictions of Infamous and Uncharted remakes nowhere to be found, which, was expected, but none of that rumor mill happening about the fact that PlayStation is trying to go back to stuff that from the past and rely on some old IP. So none of that was here. So it almost feels like those kind of conversations that were being had are either fabricated or wishful thinking, or to a certain extent, just nothing ready to talk about just yet. But yeah.
That's where we are. That is it from a first-party standpoint, Pablo, but we do have some key third-party showings to dive into next. Some of these are on our list for reasons that pertain to the game itself. Some are here because it kind of paints a picture about the showcase. And that's what brings us to Kimori, a yokai hunting action game from Ikumi Nakamura, who is formerly from Tango Gameworks. She's very eccentric. She was very well loved in her day. She popped in there.
She took that one moment and parlayed it into a fucking career, into a whole studio. Good for her.
Doing her best Asuka impression. Coming up in there, announcing Kimori, and it's a single-player game with online co-op. It's coming out in 2027, and Pablo, I was thoroughly confused. Number one, because I thought that this was a gacha game. This, to me, looked like the kind of shit you see at a Jeff Keighley showcase, where it's like, okay, we're doing this during the piss break. Stylish, but the other part of it was like, where it landed in the showcase was directly after the first-party stuff in Rayman, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is telling a story in itself.
It wasn't just the gameplay, it was her talking about it. It was almost like a featured game.
It was.
Right? This was the moment where I realized that we fucked up. It's the moment where I said, okay, this is going to be a regular state of play sandwiched in between two huge PlayStation first-party games. And that's what it ended up being. So this was definitely an indication of that. This game looked absolutely uninteresting. It looked like all the things that I hate about video games into one. Sorry.
Oh my God. You're spicy today, man.
Style over substance, co-op, quippiness. It just felt like you said, almost like a mobile game. Like one of these games that come out and they're announced and they're not real for like many, many years. And then they come out and they're like a fraction of what they promised. I was like, oh my God, looked like garbage. Sorry. But yeah. So I mean, that was the beginning of where I was like, damn.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't go garbage. I thought there was some cool aspects of it, but I just definitely felt like it didn't have a real purpose being featured the way that it was here. Thankfully, there were some decent third-party showings. We'll get into the next one here, which I thought was definitely a good one. Tomb Raider Legacy of Atlantis. We did get a new trailer for it. However, we did get some bad news that it got delayed to February 12th, 2027. Definitely bummed me out, Pablo, because I thought this looked fire. This looked incredible, man. And a lot of my lineage with PlayStation definitely does cross through the series in many ways. So To see this game being treated with a level of polish and care, even if it means getting delayed, just gets me excited because I thought this looked incredible. The gameplay looked great. The visuals looked great. Seeing her in that iconic outfit looked great. So yeah, this was definitely one of my highlights of the show. And it sounds like it is for you too.
Yeah, I mean, when it first got revealed, I think it was at the Game Awards, I was thoroughly excited because it looked great. But I was even more shocked when I saw this trailer because I wasn't expecting it to look this good, and kind of still have all those little moments that I love about Tomb Raider. And does that mean that we're getting 2 Tomb Raider games next year?
Yeah, that one's probably getting delayed. If this is 2027, that's 2028 most likely, but that's okay. As long as this one's good and it sets a good precedent, yeah, I'm happy. Up next, we saw Phantom Blade Zero. Got a new trailer. It did get delayed to October 29th.
I knew it was going to happen as soon as they showed it, and they didn't even talk about the September 9th
I thought that was weird.
Had.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't even mention it. I'm like, this shit is getting delayed. Luckily, it's not that bad of a delay, so that's good.
And I think it looks really good too. So it does. It doesn't look like a game that's troubled in any kind of way, which is causing delays. I think it's just a matter of like they understand the moment and how much of an opportunity this is to kind of make their presence known, especially as a console exclusive. So I get it. If it means delaying it another month to make sure it's in a good space, definitely do it. I think the trailer looked incredible. And, I went from kind of being mildly interested in it to definitely eyeing it up a little bit more. So I would say that was one of the ones that kind of got me a little excited. It's got a really good style to it. I just like watching this game. And I think that's what's exciting me about getting my hands on it eventually too.
I think it's smart because there's a lot of games coming out. I think we'll talk about the games, here a little bit, but there's about 3 games we're about to talk about that are all coming out within 2 days of each other.
Yeah.
All in September. And so I think that this game got out of the way of those, not because it's scared of them, it's because of the new IP and it needs to kind of stay on its own. However, that gives it about 18 days to be in a Grand Theft Auto 6 zone. So I don't know if that's going to make it there. It could be delayed even further.
Yeah, it's possible, but I have faith that they're in a good space now and they want to get it out, but we'll see. Next game to talk about, speaking of the September onslaught, which is Onimusha Way of the Sword. It also got a new trailer. Definitely got a release date, which is September 25th. Pre-orders are live, and excitingly enough, the demo is live as well.
That demo's got to do some real heavy lifting, boy, I'll tell you.
I don't know, man. Capcom can pull it off, though. I believe Capcom can stand out.
Yes. But that trailer was like, the first time I see it, I go, damn, this looks... Marco, you've been a little bit kind of, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
And I saw this, and I finally saw what you've been seeing. But it's Capcom, so we'll see.
Here's where I'm at with that. Okay. And what Pablo's referring to is that I had some questions around some of the things tonally with the game.
Yes.
Visually with the game, and even a little bit of gameplay concerns too. So I'm hoping the demo is going to help me with some of those concerns, right? Here's what happened in the state of play, Pablo. I think Phantom Blade Zero outclassed Onimusha in this lane in particular. I think it looked more interesting. I think it looked more fun. I think it looked more dynamic. Onimusha, in comparison, again, not trying to be Phantom Blade by any means. It's trying to be Onimusha. But in comparison, it did look a little slow. Art style looked a little worse. And I think the gameplay left me kind of wanting more in terms of more variety, more action, more tact. So yeah. I guess that's where my questions lie. Now, again, I'm Mr. Capcom McGee. I love Capcom. I think everything they've touched has turned to gold. I'm sure this is going to be a great time. I just don't think it presents itself very well in trailer form, Pablo. I just don't.
All these games, all these action-heavy games, whether it be Souls-likes or just kind of like the Bayonetta types, the final verdict on those games is always going to be how they play, right? Because Phantom Blade Zero looks great. And this is from someone who said that they didn't believe that game was real, who had issues with what that game could possibly be. Seeing it, it looks interesting, it looks awesome, but it's all about getting your hands on it and gameplay. So there is a world where this comes out and Onimusha ends up being the better feeling, better playing game. But for right now, from everything that I've seen, it looks like Phantom Blade Zero could be the better game. However, I would say Onimusha Way of the Sword didn't answer any questions about the tone of the game because I felt like the main character was a little silly, but in this trailer, he looked like he was embracing something a little darker, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, there was a little bit of that there, which I was happy to see. Yeah, there were some trailers where he looked a little goofy to me. And there's still a little bit of that with some of his expressions throughout some of the cutscenes, but I don't know how far they're going to lean into that. I'm a little concerned that they're going to go a little too heavy in that route, and they're kind of hiding that for the sake of the trailers, but we shall see. But But yeah, let's move on to the next game here, Pablo. This one is one that you added onto our list to talk about here, so I'm curious to get your take. We're going to talk about Stuntman Hollywood for a little bit. We got an announcement trailer, and basically it's just kind of taking this arcadey sort of style, using some inspiration from the original Stuntman games with a little bit of Burnout and Split Second kind of in mind to do a bunch of crazy stunts. According to the PlayStation blog, it's kind of inspired by some fan favorite films and shows like Fast and the Furious, Back to the Future, Miami Vice.
It's not only inspired by that, you're literally playing those moments in the game. So I put this on here because this is a childhood sort of thing for me. I played so much Stuntman. I rented it one day from a place that we're from called Video King, and I played the shit out of Stuntman, trying to get perfect scores on that game, trying to get all the stunts correct. It was an absolute blast to play. It's one of those games that critics didn't love it, but it was a game that I just couldn't play. I rented it like 3 or 4 times. Love those games. And then when I saw, this is funny because I saw this game, and it's the biggest pop of the night was Stuntman Hollywood. I was like,
wow.
I was like, oh shit, they brought it back. Like that was like what I thought I was gonna be doing the whole way. I did that with Stuntman, and my son, who was here in the room with me, he was like, what the hell? Oh, because I was going crazy, and so he joined me on it. So we're all like, woo, Stuntman.
I had the arms folded in the mean mug on my face when this was on my screen, Pablo. I get it. The original Stuntman games, very rough around the edges, but they had a certain charm to them, and it's cool that it's back. Don't know if this is where I wanted to see that. This is not where I wanted to know about that. And now here comes this fool Pablo that likes it. so now I got to deal with this.
But I wonder if it's like if it's an exclusive or a timed exclusive. I don't know, because I'm not seeing anything anywhere else.
Yeah,
I doubt
it,
but for me, it's the fact that they had Back to the Future, so that means they got that license, Knight Rider, and they showed Death Race. So I was like, those are a lot of really cool things that I've seen in movies that are represented here, where I'm excited to give it a go for sure.
Yeah, can't wait to not play this one. So the next game, Silent Hill Townfall. So we got a brand new trailer. We have a release date now, September 24th. It is, of course, as we already knew, a timed console exclusive. We don't know for how long, per se, but we know that it is. And Pablo, I'm a huge Silent Hill fan. It's probably in my top 5 favorite franchises of all time. The more I see of this game, the more in love I get. I think this looks incredible. I really love what they're doing with kind of what I mentioned before about this game in previous episodes. Just this mixture of Silent Hill meets Condemned Criminal Origins meets Alien Isolation. And then it has this almost analog horror-like element going with it. I think that's awesome. The music was incredible. I really like the location a lot more than I thought I would. This was immediately one that I was like, okay, this is one of my favorite things they've shown here. So that's me, but what about you?
Let me tell you something, Marco. I think trailers, when they're first shown to reveal a game, they're supposed to get you excited. Mm-hmm. And I think every other trailer that comes out after that, they're supposed to sell you on the game, right? And this trailer sold me completely on Townfall. I was a little iffy on the first person of it all. It looked a little bit like, with the history of Silent Hill and what we've seen in the past outside of mainline games, those games have not been very good. And then seeing this being like a spin-off, something a little different from what we're used to, I was not into it. I just didn't really get excited for it. And then I saw this trailer and I think, okay, this feels exactly like I felt when I played Silent Hill 2. It kind of has all the vibes that I wanted from a Silent Hill game, and it sold me 100% on it. I am very excited for this game now.
Hell yeah. Yeah, and that story premise, I think where they're going with that's really interesting too. I'm really fascinated about what this character is battling, what he's dealing with internally, and we know that's kind of what Silent Hill games do. They explore kind of the inners of the mind and kind of where you're at with your regret and your mistakes.
To you.
Yeah. Pablo never bounced back from that James Sunderland reveal. He was all about about his boy James, and I'm like, oh yeah, all right, keep on playing,
and
bro.
It's funny because that game's been out for so long, and I've heard people always talk about Silent Hill 2 is the best narrative in all video games, and people were putting it up against The Last of Us. I'm like, come on, there's no way a PlayStation 2 game is going to be able to compete with a game like that, and it does, and in some aspects it's even better. So
special.
You got to give flowers to those games, and hopefully Townfall can be another Silent Hill game that is in the top echelon of those games, and not in the downpours of it all.
No, this doesn't give me that kind of vibe at all. Yeah. So, definitely a game that I'm going to be getting day one. There is one more game on our list, though, Pablo, of third-party showings, and that is Control Resonant from none other than Remedy, one of our favorite studios out there. Got a new trailer, got a release date, a very familiar release date of 9/24 once again, so it is competing directly with Silent Hill Townfall, and one day after that is Onimusha Way of the Sword. sort. So very, very congested time of the year. But Control Resonant is coming out soon, Pablo. I want to get your thoughts on what we saw in the trailer, where your hype levels are at, and any other takeaways that you came away with.
Yeah, I mean, I said the initial trailer is supposed to get you excited, and the other trailer is supposed to sell you on the premise of the game. I am sold on Remedy. I am sold on the Control franchise. It's just that this game is not showcasing very well to me. There's nothing about it that I'm looking at it and I feel the same vibes that I felt when I saw the first Control trailer or when I saw Quantum Break's trailer. Even though that game isn't as good as those trailers were absolutely fantastic, and I'm just not getting that from these trailers. So I'm still excited for the game, but I'm a little concerned, just slightly concerned, that this game is going to be as good as other Remedyverse games for sure.
Yeah, for me, I'm kind of with you. There's something that's just not clicking with me so far with what I've seen of this game. I know that I'm going to play it day one. That's not up for debate. I guess I just don't really feel a strong connection to what is going on in this game right now in a couple of different ways. I think the gameplay has not convinced me that it is going to be fun, for lack of a better term. I think from a visual standpoint, characters look kind of ugly. Their engine is not aging the best right now, and I think they are due for some sort of meaningful upgrade sooner than later. I think it's able to achieve a lot of things I like to do, from just their weird wackadoo level design. I think it's good for that kind of thing, but I think when you zoom up close and you get to the storytelling bits, these characters don't look the greatest. They don't emote the greatest, and I think that is going to harm the game a little bit narratively if that's not very convincing. Now, hopefully on PS5 Pro, it'll clean up some of those rough edges. So that's where I'm going to be playing it. But yeah, I'm not sold on it yet. I think I would love a demo. I think that's what I want. I want a demo like they did with Onimusha. Put something out. Let's get some excitement building up about this game, because I think as is, it's catering to a very, very niche audience of people who like the Remedyverse, and that's not a lot. It's not like we're talking about Alan Wake 2 selling 10 million units or something like that, so people have this natural following for it. Even Control, while it did sell pretty well, it was still niche. So now you're going one layer deeper within that niche, and I don't know if it's going to come out ahead very well, and I think that Remedy needs to make sure that this doesn't kind of come and go. So whatever they can do to kind of keep this game exciting to people and relevant to people and get new people invested in it, I think you got to do what you got to do at this point.
I have a feeling, and this is just kind of me talking out my ass here, but I feel like either between Onimusha, Silent Hill Townfall, or Control Resident, at those games, one of those games is going to get delayed, possibly even out of 2026, and I would put my money on Control, to be quite honest with you.
Interesting. I didn't think about that. Yeah, it's an interesting thought exercise.
Just the fact that it's not getting the response that it needs. It's not getting the audience. You have to build a new audience for that. And then you have, a month and a half before they drop the Megaton? You're going to make all your money in that month and a half? You're going to sell all those copies in a month and a half? I don't know. There's a new CEO in Remedy. He says he's not there to change anything, but if you're not making money selling games, changes are coming.
That's true. And they have been hurting to sell some damn games as of late.
Yeah.
FBC Firebreak speaks for itself. And even their great games. Alan Wake 2, Game of the Year for many outlets when it came out. One of my favorite games of all time. But it didn't move mountains. So it's they're getting to a point now where they're going to have to come up with something pretty quick here. But let's go ahead and kind of wrap things up with our closing thoughts here. And I want to begin, Pablo, with just kind of listing off our top 3 games of the show. Yeah. I'll give you the reins here and tell me your top 3 and a little bit about why.
My number 3 is Tomb Raider Legacy of Atlantis. We talked about why why we love that so much. And I think that the reimagining of it all, of a classic game, I think that's a good approach. And the action pieces looked amazing, and she looked awesome, and everything about this game looked like an A1 Tomb Raider experience, and I can't wait to have that. God of War Laufey is my number 2. I mean, look, it's still Santa Monica. It's still Cory Barlog. It's still one of the franchises that people love, and I love as well. Maybe not as much as other people, but still a quality game, a game that is fun to play, a game that has a very interesting narrative, and it's a strong storytelling mechanic. And I feel like they're going to be pulling at heartstrings, and it's going to be fun to play at the most. So I'm excited for that. And then Silent Hill Townfall, my number 1 game. It moved the needle the most for me. I was a game that had no interest interest to the game now that I'm the most interested in that's coming out in the next couple of months, hopefully. So that's what these shows are for. These are what these trailers are for. And I think that Silent Hill Townfall shot up through the ranks for me the most, and I can't wait to play it. So those are my top 3 right there, Marco.
Nice list, man. I'm actually going to start where you left off with my number 3, which is Silent Hill Townfall. I already kind of explained my fandom for this franchise, and I think this is going to be a great addition that offers something a little bit different, but still very familiar in all the thematic ways that I love about the franchise. So that's a day one for me, without a doubt. My second favorite game of the show goes out to Marvel's Wolverine. I still have my questions, still have my concerns, but I've found myself really, really entranced by the gameplay and just the overall presentation being so sleek and punchy, and the ways that I really enjoyed about Spider-Man as well. I think they've got something really special here. It's just a matter of kind of seeing more and as time goes on about what else they have to offer from a gameplay standpoint, as we talked about earlier, just kind of keep things fresh and interesting in between missions, especially if it is, as they said, a more focused experience from top to bottom. But that's my number 2. Number 1 goes to Tomb Raider Legacy of Atlantis. I didn't see this on my bingo card at all, but this was the one that did it for me the most, man. As soon as this game popped up on the screen, I was immediately locked in. I could not wait to play this game, and it broke my heart to know that it was getting delayed, but hopefully for all the right reasons, because I would love to see more of this type of Tomb Raider. This old school kind of classic style of what Tomb Raider was, this felt a little bit more at home with me in terms of being that long-standing PlayStation fan all those years ago who remembers playing the very first Tomb Raider. And this still feels like it has a lot of that as a remake, number 1, but just overall from an aesthetic standpoint, a tone standpoint. She's got a little bit more assassin attitude, which I love too. So a lot of that's there.
I have a bad side.
Oh no, not one, not, and she was right. And so I ain't complaining. So yeah, those are my top 3 games of the show. All right, bro, let's wrap this up with our final grades. You know, we've said our piece. We've talked top level about the show. We've kind of sprinkled in some thoughts throughout each game that we talked through. But it's time to kind of get to brass tacks here. So what is your final grade, and briefly talk through why?
My final grade here is going to be a C-. The state of play did nothing to move the conversation of PlayStation and its future forward. It kind of crystallized a worrisome notion that PlayStation is content in their current state, and that perhaps they haven't quite figured out what their future is, and they're going to be perfectly okay with leaning on God of War and using it as a crutch for their future. And so because of that, and because of how disappointed I felt coming out of Wolverine, and everything else that they showed was stuff that we've seen time and time again. Second, third, fourth trailers of certain things that we've seen throughout the year or so. There was just nothing here for me that I thought that was groundbreaking or really did anything for PlayStation itself. However, it's hard to give it anything less than a C- because of the fact that we saw more Wolverine and we finally saw that God of War game that was rumored for so long. So here we are, man.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm going to go B- here. And I will say that if this was the kind of showcase that you wanted where it would help define the identity of PlayStation in a different way, I don't think this accomplished that. I also think that if you are a God of War fan, you're probably going to slap an A on this thing by default. Right, because it did the thing that you wanted to do. It gave you another flavor of God of War, and you're going to be satisfied. For me, I felt like it was a solid show, but a very pedestrian show at the same time. And again, that's not a bad thing. Having an okay show is not the worst thing in the world, but I think that from now moving forward, our expectations of state of plays have to be in a different spot, because PlayStation is just going to do the state of play template over and over and over again. It's going to start with something from them, it's going to end with something from them, and in the middle, you're going to get a lot of third-party stuff with the occasional quirky or clever thing sprinkled in between. And this kind of proved that that format is never going to change. And so I think from now on, there's no more, this is going to be the state of play of dreams. That's over, because this was the opportunity to show us that they still have those chops to make a big showcasey event out of it all. I don't think they live up to that. But if I'm grading this on like, hey, this state of play compared to other state of plays we've seen, yeah, it's pretty solid. It's definitely a solid state of play. It just wasn't the needle-moving, PlayStation-defining showcase that I think it needed to be. And for that, I think it's a B-.
I just wonder if Sony has officially retired showcases.
I think they have. I think that's done. I think in a way they like it this way because it keeps expectations grounded, but it doesn't though, because people still run wild and have crazy predictions,
Well, I mean,
and it still goes into Wackyville with what people think's going to be there, aka Bloodborne 2.
well, I mean,
you know,
like I said, top of the show, they did that to themselves. They wanted to obfuscate all the bad shit they did with 2-week announcement of the thing, a countdown, put it in theaters that they owned anyway. And then let people run with it, of course. How are you not going to run with it?
Yeah, but nevertheless, man, that is our coverage of the State of Play showcase. But this is not the only showcase that we will be covering, because in our next episode coming next Tuesday, we will be covering the Xbox Games Showcase as well as the Summer Games Fest with our thoughts and reactions. But for now, that is going to do it for this week's episode of the PlayStation Effect. Before you go, please be sure to follow our show, especially if you're a first-time listener and enjoy the conversations. We drop new episodes every week, but until next time, we'll see you. Stay safe, save often. We'll catch you next week. Peace out.